I want to hear about your journey, like what happened, how you were able to transform.
When I was 19, I made a terrible decision and it resulted in a prison sentence, very long prison sentence, 14-year prison sentence. I've been in leadership for over 20 years now, and I've been empowering leaders for like 15.
My respect towards you and your story has just multiplied 100x. So what are some of the lessons for parents and for teenagers? So I wouldn't wait for that, and I'm very excited to read about it. The booklet that you're talking about, I want to see it as a book come out. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Very excited that you chose to drive an hour to be part of my studio.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm very excited. I ran into you in the Speak Up AZ event.
Privileged to be there. That was an amazing experience.
We were so happy you were there. I was one of the speakers, and then you were there. You just blow our mind. I mean, you were a good speaker. You talked about hot air balloon and how it relates to personality. I was blown away by what you do. So before I get into that, I wanted to, I heard about the few of the struggles that you had in your early life.
Yes.
And then I know that you're a very successful leadership developer right now.
Yes.
So I want to hear about your journey, like what happened, how you were able to transform.
For sure. My journey, I'll say, started at 7 when I mowed my first lawn for a neighbor down the street, learning how to make money. Kind of got on that entrepreneurial path. By the time I was 12, I like to say I had 5 jobs. I was going in early to make coffee for a local convenience store. I was mowing lawns. I was selling newspapers. I was delivering newspapers. And I was selling for a little produce stand that was there in town. And it was at 12 when I got into martial arts. Martial arts was my first experience of leadership because at 12 years old, we were all waiting for the instructor to show up. She was in a traffic jam somewhere. And the parents of the class came to me and said, we want you to teach. And I go, I'm not the highest ranking. I'm not the oldest. There's no reason they should be asking me to teach. And they said, well, we're paying for the class and we asked you to teach. So I go get in front of the class and I run them through the kicks and the blocks and whatever. And that was my first step into leadership. Within a year or two, I was the assistant instructor. By the time I was 17, I had my own classes. By the time I was 19, I had over 500 students.
That's awesome.
All over the Phoenix metro area. Unfortunately, though, despite that success, I was not as mature as I needed. When I was 19, I made a terrible decision and it resulted in a prison sentence, very long prison sentence, 14-year prison sentence.
Oh my God.
And that'll wake you up. That'll cause you to question who you are and what you're about. And it did that. It gave me a whole lot of reason to say, whoa, what went wrong? And I found character issues in myself. I found ego issues. I found a desire to be liked more than a desire to do the right thing. And I found a lot of lack of integrity in my own life. Despite being very successful, you can be successful without integrity. You can only be truly successful with integrity. And so I found that was the issue. That was my issue. And so as I addressed that in myself, thankfully, even in the prison context, I was able to be given more leadership opportunities. By the time I walked out of prison, I had actually helped develop what we called IPP, Inmate Peer Programming. And I don't know what it's like now, but when I left, I would say 50 to 60% of the units in the state had some material that I had created. And it was all designed to give people that wanted to turn their back on crime and be successful and contributing members of the community the tools they needed to succeed. But in order to do that, you have to build a team. And so I had to develop leaders in that context where I was empowering them so that they could teach the classes and they could run the events and they could do those things because I sure didn't plan to stay there for the rest of my life. And so that was kind of the legacy I left there in prison. I was also very involved in church and I was in leadership in that capacity there in prison. Once I got out, I'm so thankful that the network that I built allowed me to step right into, you're going to guess it, yet another leadership role. And so I stepped into being a training manager for a specialty logistics company. And it's been during that journey that it kind of just occurred to me that I've been in leadership for over 20 years now. And I've been empowering leaders for like 15. And that boggled my mind. to think that, 12 years old, I stepped into leadership for the very first time, got my feet wet, messed it up, right? Did some things good, did some things not good. But I feel like I've been brought through that journey, and now I have experience in prison. I've got experience in church. I've got experience as a soccer coach. I've got experience as a martial arts instructor. I've got experience in the corporate world. And that difficulty, those obstacles have really brought me where I am now. And the opportunity to speak at Speak Up. That's from hours and hours of teaching and investing into people and sharing and being able to say, hey, I think that I've learned some lessons throughout this journey and I'd like to share them.
Wow. My respect towards you and your story has just multiplied 100x. You're so brave. You have chosen to share it with a stranger. We barely met.
Yeah.
And then you're sharing it with the audience about.
Yeah.
And you have taken all the negatives in your life and turned them into positive. You're into leadership development. When I met you, when I saw you speak at the Speak Up event, I recognized the spark in you, and I thought you're a leader naturally.
Thank you.
If you wouldn't have divulged the fact that you had some troubled past, for everybody of the teenagers go through that.
Yeah.
So now since we have this opportunity to talk about this, if a teenager is watching this or if a parent is watching this, what are the things that they should have done to help avoid prison or taking somebody's life back from their own feet? Somebody who is so successful at 19, a lot of people are not even close to that at 19, and you are way ahead of it. What are some of the lessons for parents and for teenagers?
I'll start with the teenagers. If you're a teenager and you're watching this, find successful people that you'll actually listen to. That was my problem. I had so much success that I didn't feel like I needed to listen to anybody.
Just the ego.
The ego. Oh. And so a successful leader has to be a successful follower. You can't be a real leader. You can be a manipulator. You can be a lot of things and not follow anybody. But even now, today, as I sit here, I am advancing in leadership, but I have two mentors. I have one person that's for my personal life, and I have another person that's for the business side of things that is speaking into me. So find somebody that's where you want to be and actually listen to them, because that's something I did not do.
Oh my God. See, not just teenagers, even adults need a mentor.
Absolutely.
And I look upon a lot of mentors, like the book I wrote with Brian Tracy. Mm-hmm. Brian Tracy mentored me, and he's one of the legends in the industry. Back in the day, it was very difficult to find a mentor. But in this day and age, you can send an instant message to anybody.
Yes.
And then people do respond. People want to help. So if you're a teenager, it's even more important to find a mentor. You don't have to listen to your parents if you don't like to, because you might think that they're in a different planet, whatever. But the most important thing is you need to look up to somebody and see yourself, okay, I want to be like him after a few years. I have mentors right now, even though I feel like I've experienced so many things in my business, in my life, in my net worth, everything. I still look up to some mentors. Okay, that's a very good lesson. Good reminder for parents and teenagers that everybody needs to improve themselves, and they have to have a mentor.
Absolutely. And along those lines, you said just a second ago, you said, hey, if you don't want to listen to your parents because you think they're from another planet, parents, be okay with that. Something that I say in my business all the time is because of my niche, I target middle managers. The executives love to be the ones that give those trainings to middle managers. And just like it is with them, it is with you parents. Parents, you are a commodity. Your voice, they've been hearing it since the day they were born. And that doesn't mean that they don't love you. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. What it means is that we as human beings are programmed to kind of ignore those common voices in our life. And if you've got kids or you have a spouse, you know that they will listen to everyone before they will listen to you.
Common voices. That's a good word to have. These are the voices that your brain automatically cuts off the frequency for some reason.
Exactly. So parents, line your children up. If I know you want to be that person for them, but find somebody else, or let them find somebody. That's probably even better. Let them and put them in situations where, hey, you don't necessarily need for me to be your mentor, but you need to have somebody speaking into your life, something that's going to get you going in the direction. And I think that's what a lot of teenagers are missing and a lot of parents are missing, that they don't have anybody actually infusing them and empowering them with success strategies. And so you have a lot of people that are kind of just wasting their lives, unfortunately.
Right. No, that's a very good lesson for that. Then again, digging deeper into the time that you were away.
Yeah.
So you were 19, and by the time you got out, you were how old?
31.
You were 31. You
Yes.
lost really the prime time.
That's right.
But it's never too lost, actually.
I didn't lose it. Yeah, I lost it from that perspective. But the title of my testimony, my book, is called "Redeeming the Time."
Yeah,
Because time you can't get back, but you can use it.
you can use it.
And
yeah.
so during my incarceration, not only did I have to address those character issues, not only did I invest into others, I was able to earn several associate's degrees, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I learned Spanish. I can read Ish in Hebrew. I learned to play guitar. Just a variety of things that I was able to do so that when I walked out, I was the man that I needed to be to do the things that I wanted to do.
Oh my gosh. I get goosebumps talking to you.
Well, thank you.
Because, I mean, it's incredible. I've never had an opportunity to talk to anybody who was incarcerated in the first place and who is open talking about their experiences and helping the audience that this is what you need to do in life, and I went through that, and this is what it is, and you made good use of your time. Okay, now fast forward that. Now you are one of the top 10 speakers in Phoenix. So you joined me, Atlas, Randy. So you're one of the top most valued speakers, and there is all these associations. Whenever there is a conference, they're reaching one of us to be a keynote speaker.
Yeah.
How does it feel? How did you turn around your life from where it was?
I think a lot of it, you've mentioned a couple of times that a lot of people won't talk about these things. And I believe the reason people won't talk about them isn't so much the shame, although that's probably part of it. It's the victimhood. People adopt this idea that I'm a victim of the system. And the reality is it was my choice that put me in prison. I can't blame anybody else. It's my choice. And so it was my choice to make the best of that situation. And it was my choice to go to Speak Up AZ. And so just kind of continuing to say, hey, I'm going to take ownership of my life, and I'm not going to let you or anybody else tell me what I can and can't do. I might have to work harder. We were talking before we started the podcast, and you asked about my schedule, and I'm working 16-hour days right now.
Wow.
But that's because I believe that I have the power to choose, and that power of choice is what allows me to be in the position that you just described.
That's incredible. Talk about your book. You're writing a book, or is it published yet?
So my personal story, it's booklet. It's like, I think it's 53 pages, and it's all the way up until 2018. So it basically chronicled my journey, kind of how I grew up, the lessons that I learned, and then the first 7 to 10 years of my incarceration. Right now I'm waiting to rewrite the book, I should say, because I really want to have an established success when I get out. Right now, I'm coming up on about 2 years post-incarceration. And let's just be honest, the average person looks at 2 years and says, whatever, anybody can last 2 years. They want to see real meaningful success. So I'm planning to wait 5 years so that nobody can say, well, it's just a matter of time. No, I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to continue on this path for 5 years. And then we'll rewrite the book and we'll say, look, here is a more complete story, kind of from childhood to being somebody that wasn't defined by a number.
That's incredible. That tells me that you have a goal to hit the next 5 years.
Yes.
But I can say that you're a leader in my eye already. And we talked about leadership before you started the podcast. So leader is somebody who is everybody, in the sense that you can be a leader without having multiple people reporting to you. You can be a leader by being the best of what you can offer the world and the community around you. If you're working, you can be a good leader at the workplace. If you're at home, you can be a good dad, or you can be a good person and excel in what you can do. So you do leadership development right now. So can you share some of the lessons from leadership development where people fail, especially the middle level managers?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest failures of all leaders, but specifically middle level managers, is that they don't recognize that leadership is about what you can do for people, not what you can get from people.
For people, yeah.
It's all about serving them. So I promote servant leadership. That's not a new concept. I like to say love-based servant leadership is the solution to a lot of our problems. If we don't love our people, we're not going to seek what's best for them. And what we don't necessarily realize is that when we are actively seeking the best for our people, whether it's as a dad or whether it is as a supervisor or even just walking into the store, when you walk into a store, are you genuinely wanting to make people's day better? Or are you just concerned with what you're there for?
Yeah.
These are the things that real leaders are going to be successful. And if we don't have that mentality that says, how can I be a blessing in this situation? How can I serve in this scenario? I think we're going to struggle as a leader. But if we do have that mentality, it will be a matter of days in any situation before one will elevate us and say, well, we want you to serve in leadership, because they can see that we genuinely care.
I'm super excited to just watch the progress that you're going to make in your life. And I'm very excited to read the story. I would, in fact, encourage you to chronicle what you have accomplished so far, because what you've accomplished and turned your life around is a success story by itself. I don't think you need to wait for another 5 years. And what you accomplish in another 5 years can be part two, or it can be a learning by itself.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't wait for that. And I'm very excited to read about it. The booklet that you're talking about, I want to see it as a book come out, and I'm so looking forward to it. So in closing, I wanted to ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I think doing what I'm doing, but on a bigger scale. I really want to continue to invest in this, and of course, eventually would like to train other people to invest in leadership. So I'm looking to serve companies that believe in servant-minded leadership, and I'm looking to serve them by helping empower those middle level, or just lower than executive level, really, leaders, and say, hey, what can we do to give you the tools you need so that you can engage with your teams effectively, and those teams can, of course, engage with the clients effectively. In 5 years, I would like to still be doing that, but also be raising up other leaders so that they can do it as well.
So if you're a small business owner, or it's a medium-sized company, Jon will be an outstanding resource for your team to build the leadership. How can they get in touch with you?
So right now we are in the middle of transitioning my website. So the best way is jonantonucci.com. 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 And when that changes, don't worry. If you use that address, it'll reroute you right to the new website, which is going to be servantmindedleadership.com. Actually, just bought that last night.
Okay, that's great. So we are so looking forward to it. Jon, I appreciate you taking time. I'm so excited to see you progress.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Kiran.
Thank you. Thank you.